My name's Greg Logan. Narrativity is my business. I'm a brand storyteller, and I've looked at all your websites, and brand storytelling is something I have to say you all need help with, because none of you are doing it. And it's a shame, because it's a trick you're really missing. Stories connect us. It's what makes us human. And ever since caveman sat round the fire and told stories of how they escaped T-Rex and killed the woolly mammoth, we have been obsessed by stories. And there is a scientific reason for that. When we tell stories, it lights up all 4 parts of our cortex. Facts only light up 2 parts of the cortex. And that's why when information is delivered by stories, it's remembered far, far, far more than rational messages. 65 to 70% to 5 to 10%. When listeners hear a story, their brain mirrors the brain activity of the teller. And that creates empathy, alignment, and trust. And with neurocoupling, we hear the story and take that story and turn it into our own ideas and experiences. And a good story gives us a dopamine hit. Stories are a drug you need to be dealing. So, if you want your customers to remember you, to mirror you, turn your story into their story, and want you more, then you need to start storytelling. Because stories work. For centuries, whether it is religion or the arts or politics or entertainment or business, the best storytellers in the world are the ones who have changed the world and succeeded in the world. And what is fascinating is that in business, it's been a long time coming and still, to this day, a very underutilized tool. Steve Jobs was a master of it eventually. Not many people know that he was sacked by the board of Apple at the start, and then he left and he ran Pixar. While he was at Pixar, he understood the value of great storytelling. When he went back to Apple, that's when Apple took off, and he did all those presentations where he told great stories. So why aren't you doing it? From your websites, these are the main words that I saw. And a lot of you will see the words from your website up there. And these are the antithesis of storytelling. They're overly rational, they're talking about you and only you, and they're all cliches. There is nothing engaging in them. But don't worry, you're not the only ones. Most clients are far too rational. We make decisions as humans with our heart. We just use our head to justify the decision we made with our heart. So if you can start being far more emotional, you're going to engage your customers a lot more. You're sounding like everyone else. My number one job is to stop my clients conforming to the conventions of the category. And if you're an insurance company, you will sound like an insurance company. If you're a gym, you will sound like a gym. And I make sure I will not let my clients do that. And all those words that I showed that you're all saying, they're all the words I ban my clients from using at the start of the session. That's one thing I do. But what's happening now is everyone sounding like everyone else because everyone is using AI. And AI is conforming to its own conventions of the category. I can now see, I go, that was written by AI, that was written by AI. I don't trust that company or those the experts who are writing leadership authority articles, and I go, you didn't even write this. So you're sounding like everyone else, and you are not the hero. If you look at all those words that I put up before, it's you talking about yourself and how great you are. And I know your business is making you go, these are our proof points. We're amazing at this. But no one gives a fuck. They really don't. If you look at the movies, if the hero just talked about themselves, it would be the worst movie of all time. Your customer is the hero of their journey. So if you can make them feel like the hero, then you're invaluable to them. So stop telling the story you want to tell and start telling the one your audience wants to hear. And how do you do that? Is through brand storytelling. And you may have heard for many years, experts say why brands need to become better storytellers. For a lot of the reasons I've already told you. I was convinced as well, but then I started realizing everyone's telling me why brands should become better storytellers, but no one's saying how. And I thought, I'm going to create the how. I was living in Hollywood. The movies are the most financially successful storytellers in history. This whole city was built on movies, and movies are built on a formula. We follow a hero. We follow the hero all the way to the end because they're on the hero's journey. And this is the formula of the hero's journey that every movie works to. A hero is in their ordinary world. They're called to an adventure on a quest. They don't want to go on it because it's too scary until they meet a mentor, a wise guide who convinces them to go on that journey, to cross the threshold, leave their ordinary world to a special world where all kinds of shit happens to them until they return triumphant back into their ordinary world transformed. Every movie works to that. Now, imagine if that hero was your customer in their ordinary world, and you are the role of the mentor, the wise guide that helps your customer achieve their quest, what they want. You're going to convince them to leave their ordinary world into your special world, and then they'll go back to their world transformed. That's what I do for my clients. And I've broken down all the tricks that movies use to hook us in emotionally. All these things the movies use, and I've translated them all for the things that brands need. All of these things are the things you need in your business. In my 30 years plus in marketing, advertising and branding, I know that's what we need. But I've written films, I've worked in entertainment, I also know this world. These are all the things you need, the building blocks to create strong messaging across your business. One thing that I do that's quite different is I'm not a consultant that takes a brief and comes back weeks or months later and tells you what I think you should say. We create it together and we put the key stakeholders in the room. So all those people who in the business that drive you crazy because they go, I don't think that's right. Oops. I don't think that's right. They're in the room with us. And I can say 100% of the time they love the outputs because they've created it with us. It means it gets business buy-in. And this whole process is done in 4 days. In 8 years since I started Narrativity, I've enjoyed wonderful clients like this. I mean, it's nice making rich companies like Google richer. I do love helping smaller businesses because it makes a bigger difference to them. At the last CMO Inspired conference, I got Secret Escapes as a client, and the results I'm going to show you a little bit later are amazing. But all of these people are succeeding because they're telling the story the audience wants to hear. With the clients, I always start with genre. The reason I do that is because in the movies, they start with genre. Before the writer puts a word down on the page, they go, what kind of story do I want to tell? And we've got used to genre very well through Netflix. And the reason they do that is because when we sit down at night, we go, what do I feel like watching? And then you go to that category and then you go, oh yeah, I want that comedy. And here's the power of the genre. It brings the audience closer to what they desire. And in marketing, we never do this. We just jump straight to selling the rational benefits. We never show them, this is the kind of story we want to tell. And if you're missing this trick, you could be telling the wrong story, and you usually are. And I'll give you an example of, in one sec. These are all the 27 movie genres that exist. No one wants to be a horror film. What's in blue is not important, but you may want to be wanting to tell a story about overcoming unexpected obstacles. So I work with my clients and work out what genre they are. And I'll give you an example of Hyperloop. I don't know if any of you know, but based in the USA. But Elon Musk came up with this idea, gave it to the world because he was too busy. And 3 companies said, we're going to do it. And it's the first new form of mass transportation in a century. And it will hurtle little traffic capsules from LA to San Francisco in half an hour. It's pretty amazing. And I thought for sure, more than any other business I would ever work with, that they would be sci-fi. The future is here. And I suggested that in the session. I said, sure, that's what we're saying, and it's our biggest problem. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, everyone knows we're the future. Everyone's really excited, but they think it's 30 and 50 years away, and we need hundreds of billions of dollars of contracts now, and we need hundreds of billions of dollars of investment now. And the future is our biggest problem. But everything they were saying was about the future, because of course it is. They chose the last thing I would ever imagine, and was historical. A historical film is amazing. That's why it's made into a film, but it's true. And they wanted to tell me, Greg, we need to tell the world this is real. As soon as they told me this, I knew exactly how I needed to write their messaging, and these were some things I wrote. This crazy pipe dream is real. The world can't wait any longer. Barriers are meant to be broken. Welcome to a frictionless world. We're moving the world faster forward. Get on board. This is happening. This is real. Within 6 months, they got hundreds of billions of dollars of contracts, 4 in the world, and they got hundreds of billions of dollars of investment because everyone said, oh shit, this is happening. And since then, the other 2 competitors, including Virgin, have dropped out. They've gone bust. These guys have the future all to themselves because they told me this is real. Defining the genre at the start before you even start writing changes everything. I love the quest. Movies work because the hero has a quest at the start of the film. And we watch shitty films all the way to the end and go, why waste 3 hours of my life on that rubbish? It's because we're not happy until that quest is achieved. We want to see the quest achieved. And imagine if for your business, you can create a quest that works. And the quest works because the audience wants to see it happen. I create quests for my business, my clients, and the audience wants to see it happen. And I've taken the formula that the movies use. What do you do? Who do you do it for? And what value do you add to their lives? If you've got a camera, take this and use it in your business. Use it for your next presentation. This is the most powerfully simple thing that will convince your audience that you matter. I'll show you, look at that formula. What do you do? Who do you do it? What value do you add to their lives? These are the quests for classic movies. And you can see that's the quest of the movie, of the hero, but we as the audience all want to see that achieved. What do you do, say, fulfill, restore, who for, Middle-earth, friends, girls, Nemo, the value you add to their lives? I call it the Finding Nemo model. Sometimes what you do, find, who for, Nemo, is the value you add to their lives. So you only need that. I'm going to give you an example. A client of mine a long time ago, when I first started Narrativity here in the UK, was a funder for small to medium businesses. And when I said we're going to do this, they said, Greg, we don't need to do it because we've just spent 6 months doing it and we're pretty happy with it. And I went, great, what is it? And to be the #1 independent funder for small to medium business in the UK. They were number 3. And I went, that's fucking terrible. And they were so upset. And they went, what's wrong with wanting to be #1? I said, nothing is a business objective, but as your mission, think of your audience. They're a small business owner who can't sleep at night because they need funding, and they come to you and say, you want to be #1? You're going to be number 10, if that's what you say. And they went, oh, we get it. So I used the Quest formula. What do you do? Relieving. Who for business owners and the value you add to their lives? Relieving business owners from the pressures they're under. Can you imagine if you're a business owner that can't sleep at night and come to them and go, we're going to relieve you from the pressures you're under? Yes. Within 6 months, they became the #1 independent funders, multi-billion businesses, because that's what they told people. Look at the Quest and how simple and how important it is. These are some others I've done for clients. You can see each one of those audiences wants to see that achieved. Some of my favourites are palliative care company, ensuring people have their best death possible. That's what I want. If you're getting married, I want to have the best fucking day of my life. But all of these people are having phenomenal success because they're telling people why they matter to them. The Quest is geniusly powerful. It really works internally. How do you judge? Should we do this in the business? Well, will it make us #1? I don't know. Will it relieve business owners from the pressures they're under? Yes, it will. Then let's do it, because the more we make our Quest true, the stronger our business is. If it doesn't, let's not do it. And then all you do is you remove the audience from the statement to go externally. And I said, our good funding relieves you from the pressures you're under. That's the Quest. Another favourite is the love story. I call it the love story because when you hear it, your audience will fall in love with you, because we follow the classic movie story structure, beginning, middle and end. Start with tension. This is something marketing never does. In fact, it's the greatest marketing myth of all time that you can't say anything negative. Bullshit. It's so powerful. When you say to your audience, don't you hate this? And they do, you've got them. They go, you understand me? And tension works far, far better than happy stories. Then you talk about how you solve that, then you're amazing, and then you end the story with the greatest love in life. I'll give you an example. Start with tension and you find your happy ending. 1907 water is amazing. Water from New Zealand, great proof points. All they wanted to do in life was get into Whole Foods in America. They would go each year and go, we're from New Zealand. They went, Whole Foods said, we've got 3 of those. We're from an ancient artesian source. We've got 10 of those. We're naturally alkaline water. We've got 20 of those. And we're healthy and great tasting. All water is healthy, great tasting. And you're more expensive than all of them. Fuck off. Go back to New Zealand. Can you see when you leave with rational, and all of you do, because I've read your websites, when you just lead with rational, your audience is going to answer with rational. And if you don't add up, you don't have them. 4 strikes, you're out at Whole Foods. They'd done this 3 years in a row. They had one last chance. And they came to me and said, Greg, we need to tell a different story. And I said, who's your audience? Health-conscious consumers. What's their greatest tension in life? And Dion, the owner, said, they don't have enough pure New Zealand naturally alkaline water, ancient artesian well water in their life. And I said, well, that's not true. Their lives were busier and getting busier. Remove yourself from the equation of their greatest tension. Don't try and put yourself. Just what is it? They were busier, lives were busier and getting busier. And I said, great, how do you solve that? And he goes, I don't know. Seriously, Greg, for hundreds of years, this thing's been coming up from this cave in New Zealand, and we kneel down, put the bottle in, and we put a cap on. We do fuck all. And I went, great, their lives are busier, and you're the simplest thing in the world. Now more than ever, we crave the uncomplicated, the unadorned, and the untainted. 1907, water is nature's remedy for the modern world. From an ancient artesian source in New Zealand, naturally alkaline water continually rises to the surface to rebalance and replenish our bodies from daily stresses. All we do to this constant gift from nature is bottle it. Isn't that refreshing? It's a beautiful story, but Whole Foods in the meeting said, we'll sign you up nationally. Dion fell off his chair and said, why this year? And they pointed to the screen and said, you understand our customer. They achieved their goal of getting into Whole Foods, but it's done so much more. They've got into Ralph's, Vons, Air One, Trader Joe's. This story has made them millions of dollars because they started with their audience's greatest tension and then talked about how they solved it. I just did Waggle pet insurance here. I wanted to show you, these are all the outputs. I've shown you the genre. So they chose a musical buddy, which is uplifting life together. For an insurance company, that is so different. What that means is there's a relationship now, and we say things like, they're always there for you and so are we. Now that's love. That's an insurance company talking. But pet insurers talk in the most rational way because they're insurance companies. The insurance company is going, we need to be rational. You don't even realize that people love their pets more than anything else. And they're pet people, pet insurance people, people. But look at the tension we started with their backstory. Insurance sucks. It's confusing, unfair, and inhuman. And for their love story, thank goodness for pets. They're the beautiful antidote to this crazy, messed up world. But pet lovers usually have one pet hate, insurance. It's powerful. It drags you in. But one thing about the love story is it trans beautifully to video, and they've just gone to air with this, which I wrote for them. And okay, I'll show you later. I told you before that in March in the CMO conference in London, I got Secret Escapes as a client, and I'm so excited. They're working on a big relaunch with the new tagline and all the tone of voice and all the messages, which is some of the best I've ever done. But they've started testing with some of the messaging I did for their daily emails. And I sent them, knowing I was coming here this week, I sent them a message saying, how's it going? Initial results on email have been staggering. And this gives you an example. They did this test. This is what they normally do. They do the big flashy design, flash sale, 72 hours, see deals, unlock the best price online with our, talking about themselves, our exclusive 72 hour flag. We've handpicked incredible, and they said, and we tested it against yours. We didn't even design it. But look at the difference. So these just happened. Feeling smug, you made the list. Last minute city break or some late summer sun. You've got 72 hours to decide. Scroll, gasp, book instead of see deals. When you know, you go. You see the difference? This is engaging you. It's talking to you. It's making you feel special. It's not trying to sell you like this is. 23% improvement across all metrics. And they're saying, I got one this morning, I just checked. God, these guys bombard your inbox, I tell you. But I got one this morning, which was one of my favourites, and the subject header was empty room, 5-star, don't think too hard about it. You just want to engage. But you can see here is a classic data difference of the difference a story makes. Now, I've just told you why this is working. People don't do it, but people feel that. No one feels this. Everything you're currently saying, no one's feeling. You're just talking to this. You need to talk to this much, much more. Changing your story is the most effective brand lever you can pull. And it's certainly the most cost-effective. In marketing, you spend all this time and money changing your website, your look and feel, all your video content, and all while that's important, but you don't have to change your prices, you don't have to change your product, you don't have to change your people, you just need to change your story, and the results, just see there, the results pay off. It makes a huge, huge difference, and no one spends enough time doing it. So I've just written a book. It was launched a few months ago, which spells out everything, and Sarah's going to get it and do her personal branding project. But that's exciting. I also happily, even though I've trolled you on the websites and looked at your things, I will, if you want me to, I'll do a personal messaging audit for your brand. And if you go out and see Paul at the Narrativity Center, he's got all the different ways you can work with me if you're interested. But this stuff works. It really, really does. My clients are having phenomenal success because they are flipping everything from the story they want to tell to the one their audience wants to hear.